Now, Narayanam, as you listen to the name itself, has been known to be a condensation of Srimad Bhagavata Mahapuranam. Srimad Bhagavata Puranam, most of you would have heard. It talks about Krishna Leela stories. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam, if you see, is roughly it is divided into 12 skandhas, that is 12 parts, and the number of shlokas in it is about 18,000 shlokas. There will be a few plus minus here and there. And it entirely talks about Krishna Leela stories, the various avatars, the various stories of kings in Bharatadesha, and so on. Now, there was a need, or the author of Narayanam is Melpattur Narayana Bhattatri. Melpattur is the place where he belonged to, Narayana Bhattatri. He was a person who has composed this Narayanam. So what he felt was, I'll tell you how he started with Narayanam or so, that comes later. But what he felt was, I will write a text which will describe about Srimad Bhagavatam only. I'll try to condense. So the essence or the condensation of Srimad Bhagavatam is Narayanam. Srimad Bhagavatam, I told you, is about 18,000 verses. Narayanam is about 1038 verses. Again, a few plus and minus. So, if you see now comparatively of Srimad Bhagavatam 18,000 verses, Narayanam 1038 verses. So, just by looking at the numbers, we feel that, oh, this is little easy to chant also. But again, nothing is easy, nothing is difficult, because Srimad Bhagavatam, though the length is more, the meter remains the same. Meter is the way we chant. Say, for example, now, most of you, if you're familiar with the Gita, you'll know that right from chapter 1 till chapter 18, the tune that is there remains the same except for few four-line verses. Or if anyone is familiar with the Sahasranama or small stotras that we chant, the tune remains the same. But for Narayanam, if has anyone opened the book and seen? Did you open the book? Did you see a few chapters? How it looks? English, I'll tell you, of course, no, not in Tamil, because we have a mixed crowd, right? So while, of course, learning it doesn't matter. In the introduction, I'll tell you in English. In case you are not understanding something, in the end, I'll tell you the gist in Tamil, right? Okay, so if any one of you, if you have opened the book, you will know that each chapter looks a bit different, right? Say, for example, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. When I say different, you see the size or the length of the verses looks different. Has anyone gone through the book? Did you open and see? Yes? So, ah, yeah. So you would have seen that each chapter, the shlokas that are there, say, for example, in chapter 1 and 2, shlokas look a bit big, right? They're big four-line verses. Chapter 3, little it reduces. Chapter 4, still it becomes small. Why this difference? Because Narayanam is not composed in a single tune, in a single meter. There are different tunes in which it's called as different meters, right? Why different meters or different tunes? Because, like we saw, the size and length of the verses is different. So, therefore, we cannot chant every shloka in the same tune that is there. So this is one special feature of Narayanam. Moreover, Narayanam that is there has been divided into 100 chapters. Now we should not call these 100 as chapters. They are called as Dashakams. Dashakams. So henceforth, remember, we will not call it as chapter 1, chapter 2, no. It will be Dashakam 1, Dashakam 2, Dashakam 3, and so on till Dashakam 100. Why Dashakam? Bhattatri, the author, Melpattur Narayana Bhattatri, he had in mind that I will compose 10 shlokas pertaining to one topic. So, roughly, if you see all these dashakams, except for a few, have 10 shlokas in per dashakam. So, dashakam 1 has 10, dashakam 2 has 10, and so on. A few dashakams that are there have a plus verses. So, that's the reason why the number goes to 1038 roughly. 10 dashakams each have 10 shlokas, it has to be 1000, but it's a few shlokas more. So that's the reason why a few dashakams that are there, they go plus few verses more. Like some might have 15 shlokas, but it doesn't go beyond that, right? So 10 to 15, that's the max. One or two dashakams will have also 9 shlokas. Now why this difference comes in is because of the subject matter that is there. In few dashakams, if you see, now 18,000 verses, that itself churned into 1038, you might know the difference, right? So therefore, Bhattacharya has tried his best to condense the same, but he could not do that. That's the reason why he adds a few extra verses. But still, these chapters are called as Dashakams only. So each chapter looks like a Dashakam. Each chapter is called a Dashakam. Okay. Now, this Narayanam, if you see the text itself, apart from a devotional text in praise of Lord Krishna, it is also known for being one of the greatest texts of Sanskrit literature, because this Melpattur Narayana Bhattacharya was a great Sanskrit scholar. That's the reason why, as we start learning, you will know the choice of words that are there or the tunes in which he composes. Everything has got, you can say, excellent Sanskrit beauty. So, therefore, it is also called or said to be a great marvel of Sanskrit literature. Now, how come this text came into existence? Now, this Melpattur Narayana Bhattacharya, he was actually a young person. It is said that at the age of 27 or so, he has composed this great text of Narayana. But how come this, what inspired him, or how come he started composing the text is, he was suffering from a disease, you can consider like a skin disease also. Now, and the disease that was there was quite, you can say, it could not be cured at all. So therefore, like somewhat like leprosy, you can consider. And or if you want a very good word for that, I think in English you call it as rheumatism also. That means the limbs of our body cannot move at all. Now it is said that this Narayana Bhattacharya who was there, he was suffering from this disease. He could not move, his hands and legs could not move, he could not walk, he could not sit, he could not. So basically, body movements could not be done. So now somehow this disease has to be cured. Now this Melpatur Narayana Bhattacharya, he had a guru. His guru's name was Pisharadi. Now this Pisharadi had been affected by this disease, and it seems that Narayana Bhattacharya could not bear to see his guru suffering from this disease, and that's the reason, through his yogic powers also, or as a way of offering Guru Dakshina, it seems that Narayana Bhattacharya took this disease from his guru, and that's how he started suffering from that, and his guru was relieved from this disease. So that's how it is known. Now, what happened is, a few of them, what they did was, now this Narayana Bhattacharya was a great scholar, so he had few disciples, few scholars with him, and all of them one fine day, what they decided was, they took him to the temple of Guruvayur. Now he could not walk, I told you, he could not move his body limbs, so they had to lift Bhattacharya. They lifted Bhattacharya and took him to the temple of Guruvayur, saying that maybe if he visit the temple also, or in general if he move about here and there little, maybe. Now, it's not that the illness will totally go away, but when we become busy also, or when we do something good, little at least, the intensity of the pain will reduce. Now, while those followers or the disciples of Bhattacharya were carrying him, it seems that a person came, as if the Lord Himself gives a direction like that. A great Malayalam poet and a scholar at the same time. His name was Ezhuthachan, Ezhuthachan. Ezhuthachan. He came and he gave a hint, it seems, to Narayana Bhattacharya, saying that start with the fish. Now, he just came, he told him that you start with the fish. Now, the followers of Bhattacharya who were there, they took this as a great insult. Now, you come and maybe you tell a vegetarian person also, or inside a temple, you come and someone you tell, you start with a fish. Immediately, what we feel is maybe the person is telling that you consume fish, right? Because of the ailment. Now, the followers of Bhattacharya got very angry, it seems. Now, the scholar who was there, Eltachan, he just came and he just told and he went away. Now, these followers who were there, they were about to follow the person, and maybe uh, they felt very offensive when they told, so maybe they wanted to go and give him a good hearing or things like that. But Bhattacharya stops them immediately and he tells that no, he has not told me He has told me to do something, of course, nothing to do with the fish, but there is an in depth meaning behind this. And maybe most of you have not understood this, so I need to think over this. Now, those followers or friends of Bhattatri, they said that how come? On your face, he came and he told that start with the fish. What deep meaning, what other meaning will be there? Thinking so, they all felt bad. So that's when Narayana Bhattatri, he deeply thinks over this and he tells that the hidden meaning behind this is amongst the various incarnations of Vishnu, he has given me a hint that you start with a fish, that is, you start with the Matsyavataram of the Lord. Now, amongst the Dashavataras of the Lord, popularly, Matsyavataram is the first. But please note that Matsyavataram in order is not the first avataram. In the popular list of Dashavataras, Matsya is the first. Okay. As per Srimad Bhagavatam, there are about 22 to 24 incarnations of the Lord. When we talk about the 10 popular avatars, in that Matsya Avataram is the first. So, like this, Bhattatri gets a hint that he has told me to talk about the various Leelas of the Lord, the various incarnations, avatars of the Lord, and he has given me a hint that you start with Matsyaha, that you start with the fish. I will take this as a hint. But now Bhattatri feels that rather than jumping to Matsyavataram, let me take Srimad Bhagavatam as a reference text, and as Srimad Bhagavatam goes in the same order, let me also compose a text wherein whatever has been mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of that I will cover in my text. And moreover, I will also describe the Krishna Leela stories. I will also talk about the various avatars of the Lord also. Now, here what he decided is he felt that then finally, now all this happened, you can say, in the outskirts of the temple, or now if you go to Guruvayur also, there is an inner Sanadi, there is an outer Sanadi also. After all this discussion took place, Bhattatri says that he tells his friends, the followers, disciples, he tells, you take me to the inner Sanadi of the Lord where I can see Lord Guruvayur. Now, Lord Guruvayurappan is a form of Lord Krishna only, right? Now, all this happened in the temple of Guruvayur, today is Kerala. So, there he sees Lord Guruvayurappan, Lord Krishna in front of him, and says that starting from today onwards, I will compose one Dashakam in praise of you, one Dashakam, roughly 10, having 10 shlokas, talking about your Leelas, talking about your stories, which will also describe Srimad Bhagavatam, which is quite dear to you. He says so, and here he seems that every day he used to compose those shlokas. Now, here, if you see at the end of every Dashakam, as we learn, you will know, he writes a prayer saying that, please cure me of my ailments, please cure me of my sufferings. Why this was written is because that is ultimate why, you can say, the main purpose of why he came to Guruvayur, the main purpose of why he is even composing is to free him from those ailments, right? And one more reason is Bhattatri writes the entire text in first person. We are also reading the text in first person. Therefore, it is said that chanting of Narayanam also, just as Bhattatri wrote to cure his ailments also, similarly, for whomever chants it or for whomever we chant, we can also chant it for others. It's not that only I am suffering from something, there will also be many others who suffer. And that's the reason it is said that chanting of Narayanam helps in curing all kinds of diseases, ailments also. Now, not only the Phalashruti part, we should not concentrate only on that, but yes, we should know why the certain texts are known for their special features, right? And of course, everyone has their own experiences also. So, Narayanam basically is told to cure ailments of all kinds. This is one reason because Bhattatri has written it in first person, and when we also chant, it is as if I am praying to the Lord to cure me and my fellow beings from various illnesses also. So, like this, what happens is now here, why Narayaniam is again a very, very important and popular text is after composing every Dashakam, it seems that 100 Dashakams, 100 days. It seems that every day the Lord of Guruvayur used to come and give a nod, it seems, as if he has agreed to what Bhattatri has written. And continuously the Lord did this for 100 days. So you see how blessed Bhattatri was, that every day he got, you can say, like a sign that yes, move ahead, like a, you can say, hope also. Every day you're composing something, you move on, move on, move on. But yes, though the Lord came in continuously for 100 days, the Lord comes, he nods his head. Bhattatri also did not give up, right? He was suffering in pain, he could not move even a single limb of his body, but such a beautiful text he has composed. So the least that all of us today can do is, due to the grace of the Lord, we have got an opportunity to read, or you can say to learn this divine text that is there, which has been, you can say, seen by the Lord, or you can say given a green signal by the Lord every day. And also the author who was there, he was suffering in so much pain, but still he managed to complete the entire text. So the least that we can do is at least learn it properly and chant it. Yeah. So this is all about Narayanam. And finally, on now roughly there are some dates also that are given. Roughly in the 1587 also it is said. Now these, when Bhattatri finished composing Narayanam, but of course these dates can be, we cannot go too much by the English dates. On the 28th day of the Malayalam month of Vrishchikam, it is believed that Bhattacharya finished composing his text. So that year it fell on 27th November. So that's why every year also, if you see Narayanam Day, we celebrate on the 28th day of the Malayalam month of Vrishchikam, which roughly falls in December. This year it falls on 13th December. So what people do is generally, now few of you had joined in at 6:15, right? Few of you joined a few minutes early. You were listening to Narayanam being chanted. So starting from September 5th, about 10 days ago, we started. Every day we chant one Dashakam. So 100 Dashakams will, the 100th Dashakam will end on 13th December. So for devotees who have learned, or even if you have not learned, you can also listen. One day one Dashakam is chanted as, you can say, as a prayer also to Lord Krishna as well as to Bhattatri. Just as Narayana Bhattatri did, one day he composed one Dashakam and offered it to the Lord. Similarly, devotees also, they start with Dhyanam, they chant that day's Dashakam. So today was Dashakam 11. And then on the 100th day, they conclude. That is on December 13th this year, we conclude with the 100th Dashakam. So finally, on when Bhattatri wrote the 100th Dashakam, it seems that the Lord gave him Pratyaksha Darshanam and he was cured of all his illnesses. And it seems that the Lord, now first Dashakam, if you see, Bhattatri starts with the description of the Lord, how the Lord looks and so on. And in the 100th Dashakam also is a description of the Lord. But the only difference is the first Dashakam is the imagination of Bhattatri. The last Dashakam, 100th Dashakam, is what Bhattatri saw in front of him, how the Lord looked. That description is the 100th Dashakam. So many will say that no, first and 100th Dashakam is the same, but there is a difference. First Dashakam is the imagination of how he had heard from people, how he had seen in books also, how he had imagined of all of us, to all of us also. Someone says you describe Krishna, you have seen a photo, right? You have not actually seen the Lord. So you say, no, you have a peacock feather on his head, you wear pitambaram, you have a flute in your hand, and so on. We will describe. Maybe you have a picture, or from our imagination we describe. But when we get an actual darshanam that is there, that Bhattatri got both. Dashakam 1, he imagines and he writes. Dashakam 100, he sees the Lord in front. Agre pashyami tejo nibidatarkala yavani kedikaram, and so on. So this is 100th Dashakam, wherein he actually sees the Lord and describes. And it seems that on the 100th day, the Lord gave him darshana in the form of Venugopala, having a flute in his hand. Now, if you go to the temple of Guruvayur, you will see that the Lord is in a very small form of a small boy that is there. So that's how this Narayanam was composed, and that's how it was gifted to people like us, to various devotees also. And this is how it seems that this entire great text was composed even today. And this is the reason why till date people go to the temple of Guruvayur also, and there they go and they chant Narayanam. So it is said to be it is said to be very, very auspicious to go to Guruvayur and chant this divine text. Yeah. So I just gave you a gist of Narayanam. As we move about later, we will discuss more.